All right. Besides ordering rational numbers, besides comparing rational numbers just between two numbers, we've also got to order them, sometimes from least to greatest, sometimes from greatest to least. But here's a set of rational numbers we're going to order from least to greatest. First thing I want students to know immediately is that two of these are negative and two of these are positive. So the negative numbers are obviously going to be somewhere on the left side in our list, and the positive numbers are going to be somewhere on the right side in our list. That seems really apparent to a lot of you, but sometimes the kids get blinded by the fractions and the decimals, and they may panic. But it's easy to tell if a number is positive or negative, which side it's going to be on. That being said, we're going to look at the two negative numbers first, because we know that from least to greatest we're going to start there. So we have negative 43 and 1/4, and we have negative 43 and 3/10. Students can compare decimals much easier than they can compare fractions. So instead of changing this one to a fraction, as in 3/10, I would prefer them to change this 1/4 into a decimal. And since it's a really easy fraction, they should be able to do that fairly easily. They should know that when we're talking about the 1/4 part, we talk about how that fraction is a lot like quarters and dollars. 1/4 out of the 4 that it would take to make $1 would be an amount of 25 cents. Students should probably come to 6th grade already knowing that 1/4 is equal to 0.25. Some of them don't, and that's okay, but we can use that illustration to help them remember. So our fraction portion is 0.25, but we've got to put that back with our negative 43 whole number. So when we're all said and done, we're really talking about negative 43.25 instead of just 0.25. So we've taken this fraction and we've converted it, and now we're looking to compare it with negative 43.3. And we can see that the 2 in the 10th place, and there's a 3 in the 10th place here. So if we're going to start ordering these, we know that the negative 43.3 is going to be farther away from 0 on a number line. So if we're starting a list, negative 43.3 is going to be farther away from 0 than negative 43.25. So we're off to starting our list in the correct order, and now we only have to deal with the positive rational numbers up there. So we got 43.18, and we've got 43 and 4/5. Again, it's going to be easier if we can change this fraction to a decimal, and then we can compare. So we're going to put the 43 whole number on hold for a second, and we're going to take that 4/5, and we're going to use the division method to see what the decimal of it will be. So we know that 5 cannot go into 4. 5 goes into 4 0 times. 0 times 5 is 0. And we're right back where we started, only we know this is now going to be a decimal number. So we bring down 0, and almost immediately we notice that 5 goes into 40 8 times, because that's a math fact we know. 8 times 5 is 40, and before you know it, we're done, because we've got a 0, we have a terminating decimal, and we're finished. So 0.8 is the decimal that goes with 4/5, but again, we have this whole number in front of it, so it's not just 0.8 we need, it is actually 43.08. And now we can compare this a lot easier with this than we could when it was a mixed number just a minute ago. So because we have the whole numbers are the same, 43 and 43, we look to the 10th place. We have 0 in the 10th place. We have 1 in the 10th place. And then we can obviously cover up the whole number until that 18 is greater than 8. There's a couple of different ways of looking at it. But once we get them to a decimal, we can see that 43.08 is less, so it would come first. 43.18 is more, so it would come last. So our set of rational numbers has been written from least furthest away from 0 to greatest furthest away from 0 on the positive side. So we can be pretty sure that our order is correct if we can change these mixed numbers into a decimal like we did here and here. And luckily in this set, they were pretty easy fractions to change. So there's some previous videos on how to take a fraction and change it into a decimal using this same method. If you're still stuck on that, please review those so that you can start to order rational numbers from least to greatest and greatest to least. Hope this helps. Thanks.